Alright, so in this lecture I want to talk about how the user can specify the file that they want to read from or maybe even write to, so the file that you would like to open. And to begin, I have IOStream and FStream included, FStream of course for IFStream. I have a C string called file name. This is not constant because we want to write to it. And this is typically what you would see in examples. You have some C string and that is then used for user input. Next, we prompt the user to enter the name of the existing file. Then we do standard cin file name. Of course, we want an existing file. So I have an existing file here called integers with these 5 integers in there. In the next line, we construct an IFStream object called inStream. We open that, make sure that it is open. Then we have some integer here just to store that data. And then we want to do something with that file, right, for demonstration purposes. So while we read from that file, we want to print that out to the screen, to the console. So let's see what this will look like. I will build and run. Of course, if I enter an incorrect string, such as int instead of integer, that file will not be opened and the process will exit with code 1. Build and run again. You may also make the mistake of entering a string such as integers instead of integers.txt, and in that case that will also not work. Input file integers could not be opened. You have to specify the extension, so .txt. So in other words, the full file name. And then it simply reads and prints out those integers. This is useful if we want to perform the same computation on different files. For example, you may have numbers in one file that you may want to sum and then insert the sum into another file. Then you may have another input file with different numbers in there, and you may want to insert the sum of those numbers to yet another output file. Now, instead of changing the file names in the open member function, so in the source code, and then having to run your program again, we can write the program in such a way that it prompts the user to specify the names of the input and output files. In this way, the program can read from or write to different user-specified files each time it is run. So in other words, we do not have to then modify the source code each time. Now, of course, this is specific to those integers. We are reading integers. But if you have something else, then of course you can also do characters, and you can get the characters and then print them out or do whatever you want with those. Now, before we close off this lecture, I would like to note that you can actually use the standard string as well. For example, where I do open, I pass in this file name. And you can see that it takes in a pointer to a character constant. Don't worry about the second argument. We will talk about those second arguments in upcoming lectures. But if we scroll down, we can see we have a reference to a standard string constant. Okay, so we can pass in a standard string. And I'll actually just comment out file name here, and I will use the standard string instead. Build and run, enter integers.txt and press enter, and we can see that that works fine. So as you can see, you can use the standard string as well, but I want to demonstrate with the character strings because that is typically what you would see when you do this sort of thing, when you have a variable and prompt the user for the file names. Alright. One thing I forgot to do was to close the file. Well done if you have noticed that. Remember, we always want to close the file to disassociate that with a particular object.